Hello, and welcome to um, a very special episode of House Left. Um, I think maybe I had a hard time finding a panel for this uh, dialogue because, for many reasons, some people were actually already tonight still working on getting out the vote. And had activities they were involved in there. Some had, personal issues. Others had basically said, I just can't talk about it. I'm too anxious right now. And it occurred to me that this is a very selfish episode because in a way I needed to do something because of my own anxiety. And I thought having a conversation like this might be helpful. Um, so we are going to talk about the moment we're in history, and I hope try to look at it. We'll see if this goes as a what if a play were to be made, a history play um, about this moment, because it is such a critical moment in our history. And what would that look like? What would we want it to look like? And I am so grateful to all of my panelists tonight. Would you all just pop onto the screen for me? Here they come. Okay, we have one more Jeffry Wilson, which I'm hoping will join us. Maybe he'll pop in the middle. We'll see. But Lee Helder is one of the foundational people with her late husband Bill of the theater community in Lansing that we know today. On the ground floor of Community Circle Players, which became Okemos Barn, which became Riverwalk. And she's also my next door neighbor, or across the street neighbor, which is fun, for the last 22 years. Welcome, Lee.
Thank you.
And Rose Jangmi Cooper, who is a new friend of mine, who I've seen in several productions. I just found out she was in Sweat, which I didn't even realize. I saw her at Turn, Turn, Turn at Ixion, and also last weekend on the EA reading that was done for Janet Colson's script. Welcome, Rose.
Thank you.
I'm a big fan. You always make me happy when I see you on stage.
Oh, thank you.
And Mary Job, who is, what can I say? One of my favorite directors. She taught hands down the most influential and good college course I ever took, and that's because everything at Central Michigan and everything at MSU on directing at LCC.
Thank you.
Loved it, just absolutely loved it. It was hard work, and it was good hard work. It was just really nice. So Mary, thank you so much for coming to this.
Lovely.
And my friend Connor.
Hi.
Handsome Connor. You look so great. Good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you too. I'm glad I'm just a smile and a good time.
Okay, so we're going to get started, and what I'd like to begin with is to just have each of you talk about your just your thoughts and feelings right now about, and don't worry about theater, whatever you want to talk about in terms of this place we are in. And I'm going to ask Mary to go first, if you wouldn't mind, and then anybody else who wants to follow can do that.
I think my feelings at this moment are so skewed up. I'm terrified. I really am terrified of what will happen in this election. At the same time, because of the pandemic, I've been really isolated for the last 7 months. All my theater gigs got canceled, some of which I worked a long time on.
I know.
I haven't seen a lot of people. I got off of FB just because I was so anxious and so angry. I decided I just didn't need any more escalation of those feelings. But I think right now what I just feel like is everything I thought this country was about, it's not about. And that is so shocking and so disturbing to me that I have a hard time dealing with it.
Thank you, Mary. Who'd like to go next?
I can. I had the same. Oh,
Go ahead,
sorry.
Lee. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah,
No, go for it.
He raised his hand.
I taught him well.
Well, I had really the same thing as Mary. I really hesitated to say yes when you asked me, Doak, because I thought I really don't have much to say except, oh my God, it feels like the apocalypse. If Trump were to win, I don't know what would happen. I really don't. I just and I started getting the New York Times about 6 months ago.
And you know what?
For the pandemic. Yeah, and finally got them delivered to my front porch after I threatened to leave. But anyway.
I have to talk to you about that because I saw them do that. They run by my house and just throw it and leave it. And they go into your house and drive right up to the door, get out of the car, deliver it to your front desk.
Well, I threatened. I said I can't be going down the any. But the thing is, when I read the New York Times, now I've realized I can't do it. Because it is so, it just turns me up. So I look at it. No, I can't read that. Goes into the recycling bin right next to me. I have to read the State Journal to calm myself down. I've been self-medicating with jigsaw puzzles and books, of course, and Legos. I'm addicted to Legos.
Good.
Oh,
Really, it's horrible. But anyway, that's what I can't. I just don't know. And I really don't. I can't say. Are you worse off? Personally, no. Except, I mean, financially, no. But I know that there are a lot of people that are. So how can anybody say the country is better off with him? I don't know. And he's such a horrible, horrible person. Anyways, that's it.
Thank you, Lee. Connor, why don't you go now?
so about 4 years ago, I was in this show called Serious Money, and it was around the same time. It was opening right after the election.
Yeah.
I remember two things. I remember Doak, and I didn't know Doak that well at the time, and I was a fan. But I'm coming out and I'm like, yeah, so that sucks, right? This was me about 22, and I remember we didn't really have much to say, but Doak came up to me and just gave me a really big hug. And then I remember talking to Mary, and she was knitting furiously.
My stress reliever.
Yeah, and I throughout my college experience, specifically with Mary Jobe, I remember going to your Facebook to look at what you're posting because my whole life talking about politics has been something that's been a taboo in a way. And it felt good talking to somebody who wasn't necessarily in a circle that I associated myself with when I first started theater. Just talk about common sense things that I always believed, but for some reason were hard to talk about with people because they just, I didn't care, didn't know, a bunch of didn'ts, I suppose. But here we are, 2020. I don't see things being nice either way it goes. I know who I'm voting.
Yes.
And I'm very, I'm positive about who I'm voting for, and I would vote for him again too. I don't think he's like a bad candidate. The guy, Joe Biden. I'm voting for Joe Biden. I don't care who sees this. And what's really scary isn't necessarily the outcome of the election. What's scary is the recovery from where we go from here, because it's gonna be, I don't know, messy.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Connor. Rose, what's on your mind?
I I find myself bemused. I find myself bemused because so many people are so surprised, so shocked by what's going on, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, because if that's where your head has been all this time, then of course you're going to be shocked by this, because and I'm going to use you as an example, Lee, just because you said something that triggered this thought. You said, is this affecting you personally? And you spoke of ways that it's not. And that's where this all jumps off for, because when things don't affect a people, not just these 5 people here, but a people, a society personally, then you don't have to be aware of it. And when you're not aware of something that you don't have to be aware of, when things go wrong, it's easy to say, oh, this is surprising. Oh, how is this happening? Oh, is this who we are? And my response to that is, how did anybody not think that this is who we are? Because that's who we've been for centuries. If you think of the fact that America as a country, as a society, is the one of the youngest societies on the planet, yet we have this elevated opinion of ourselves as being way up in the stratosphere of, the end all be all, when you have places like Korea and India and places that have been around for millennia. We've gotten this elevated concept of who we are and how we are the pinnacle of existence. And when something upsets that concept, when something comes along and says, hey, maybe we're not, then people are surprised by it, because that's what you've always learned. That's what you've always been. For the people that are in shock about it and dismay about it, I'm happy. I'm not happy that you're in dismay, but I'm happy that you have the wherewithal, the decency to be bothered by it. And don't take me wrong, I'm not sitting here gloating about it, because I'm as affected by anybody else. But from my perspective as a Black woman in this country, none of this is new to me. And I can say that from where I sit, my question is not how is this who we are, but how can we stop pretending that we've been anything but this? How can
Right.
we stop pretending and throwing these concepts around about how great we are, when we see every day that the people that we keep trying to push on the background as those people are the problem? When we've created this problem, we've allowed this problem, we've conceived this problem, and we nurtured this problem, and we have now the chickens are coming home to roost,
Yeah.
Mm.
and
It's
now we have to deal with that.
it's
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, that the many rivers that are sort of coming together right now in this moment with suddenly, I mean, suddenly people are aware of racial inequity. I mean, they're talking about it and trying to, all these sort of kind of wild approaches to how they deal with it, trying to be correct, trying to do the right thing, but not having really explored how deeply ingrained racism is to every aspect of the United States from its founding and before its founding. Um, so, I mean, part of this moment, it feels to me, I'm reminded of, there's a line from I, Claudius, this TV show from way back when, where Claudius says, let all the serpents that lurk in the mud hatch out. So he's just saying, let things emerge. And I kind of, listening to you, Rose, I think that's what I see happening. And I so agree with what Connor said. Actually, I was going to say exactly the same thing, that it doesn't matter who wins this election. We are in a place of stark confrontation with who we are.
Right.
And we're divided, in a really serious way. So
It's okay if
anybody else want to respond to Rose?
I just wanted to add, after this summer, I went to my fair share of protests, and it's really weird where the other side stands on. I don't know what they believe in. I don't know what they actually want, other than what they want is for others not to have things, which is just fucking weird. I hope cussing's okay, because
It is.
I
It's
feel like
gonna happen.
it's just weird that certain people's priorities are at a place of just like, well, I don't know, I kind of just want to see this guy cry,
Right.
because that's how it feels. It doesn't feel like this other side is asking for anything. It doesn't feel like this other campaign is telling you what he'll do for you, other than what they will do to you.
Right.
And to
Right.
me, it just seems like I think what's more frustrating, though, than the people who are coming out and saying what we'll do to you are the people who are standing back and saying that this just isn't my problem. And that has bothered me more than the people who are saying, who've been just straight up, I'm voting for him. Who've just been straight up, I don't care. It's the honesty is almost comfortable. But to somebody who just says something like, it's just not my problem, or this bothers me because we're actually talking about it, that's weird. That's weird.
I think we're at a moment where we are very naked. And we're very naked in terms of, and I think it's what Rose said and what Doak said, that things that have been kind of covered over, or even that we thought that there was progress on, and yes, there has been progress, but it's like now, I mean, we're living with people who actually sit there and stand there and just sort of, say these things, and everyone just kind of goes like, oh, well, okay, and I think that what's happened with me is I've just said, we haven't progressed. We haven't progressed the way I thought we did. We haven't progressed, and we're just naked in front of one another. And I'm listening to people whose racial resentment, whose white racial resentment sounds so naked. I mean, so bizarre, so, I'm not sure what the word is. But it's like, so, they're so committed to it, and they feel so justified in it. And at the same time, I'm sitting there saying, God damn it. I am not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologize for being bright, for working my ass off, for having an education, and for actually having, this worldview that is diverse. It doesn't make, and somehow now I've been cast as an elite. Give me a fucking break.
I'll show you how fucking elite I am.
I mean, it's, but at the same time, I just, and I listen to it's like you, Lee, I read the New York Times and I listen to these people, or NPR in the morning. It used to be, on Saturdays and Sundays because our alarm usually rings at about 6:45, and so on weekdays, it's the news. And on the weekends, it's music. So, I would used to sit there during the Obama years and think, oh, yeah, I'm not going to, it's just music. Now I'm thinking on the weekdays, God damn it, can there be music? Because I can't stand listening to these people. I can't stand listening to the the anger and the sense, the lack of care. I mean, for somebody to sit there on the radio and say, well, I'm not wearing a mask because it doesn't affect me. And I'm thinking,
Oh,
no, it affects me.
Yeah.
I mean, when did we suddenly be, and we didn't. We've always had this libertarian streak as a country. I mean, if you didn't like it in the East, you went West and took lands from Native Americans. But now it's just like there is no more escaping. There is no more West. So we all got to live with one another's differences, and we're not doing it very well.
Yeah, I think that, the white privilege, and it's how white privilege is written into the everything, every part of our country from the beginning is, it's what we were trying to teach like 10 years ago in these workshops I was doing on racial equity and social justice. And, what we kind of try to help people understand is if you feel like being treated like someone else feels like something's being taken away from you, then you have privilege. You have unearned privilege.
Yeah.
That kind of sunk in for some folks. I think Jeffrey's about to join us.
Yay.
Oh, there he is.
Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, Jeffrey. Hi.
Hey,
Glad you
Jeff.
could join us.
Sorry, my
That's all
friend
right.
who gets my groceries for me, she said it was a nightmare getting out of the store.
Sure. All
Had
right.
it been any other time, I would have been, or she would have been in and out. But apparently, if people are stocking up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We are. I
10
understand.
days.
We
I
are.
had to get take a blood test today. I had to get lab work today. It was like 3-4 hour wait at every Sparrow lab there was. Like this feels like end times in so many weird ways. It's
Mhm.
and it's end times because we are now having to face the fact, we're having to face our reality of who we are. We keep coming, keeps coming back to it. We talk about, is this who we are? Yes, this is who we are.
Yes. Yes.
This is who we are.
Yeah.
Let's face it, let's deal with it. And I don't mean this in any flippant way. We talk about, is there a civil war coming? Let me clue you in. It's already here. The war on civility is a civil war. The fact that we don't even care enough about each other to not put on a piece of cloth, a piece of cloth, a piece of cloth that's going to keep you from potentially killing
Exactly.
somebody. And that's freedom. This is taking away your freedom. What changed? Except I have a piece of cloth over my mouth that makes it a little harder for me to hear, to be heard. But the fact that we can't even give each other that much space, that much agreement, that much room, that much I care about you that much, is more than Republicans and Democrats or black and white. It's speaking directly to what this country is, who this country is, what do we believe as a country. And because we are not ready to deal with that, we're all feeling like everything's about to fall apart tomorrow.
Thank you.
And that's a
I'm gonna.
terrible way to feel.
Jeffrey, I'm going to let you kind of sort of swim along with us and find your way into the conversation. But I want to first go to Lee for a second, just because I know you, Lee. I know your values, and I know how deeply you think through lots of things. As you've been hearing this conversation, what's popped up for you at all?
Well, it seems to me that the expression of these feelings on people who feel so privileged, they feel privileged, they don't want to wear a mask, they don't want to give up any rights because these people might have something, they might get something, that was mine or whatever. I think it's been, we can lay it at the feet of somebody who has sort of precipitated the whole thing. I mean, and he did. he allows it, he condones it, he enjoys it,
Mhm.
he revels in it. And I'm afraid, I'm really afraid that if if he were to win, if he doesn't win, it's not going to be good either. I mean, it's going to be a lot less awful, maybe, because maybe some adults will be in charge, of things, or people will come, maybe who senators or whatever will come to their senses, and perhaps values. I listening to Rose, I I think we're in a bubble in the theater community, because we all like each other pretty well. I mean, there's all these little things that happen, but anyway, in general, we all want to do the play. And so whoever it is can do it, well, great. We like them. Let's come on, let's all play together. And we don't think about what people who are not interested in theater, which I find that very hard to understand about other people, that they aren't. I really do. People like sports and they don't like theater. I don't get it, but anyway.
All
That
sports
almost-
is theater without a.
That almost feels
People
like
like both, actually. I know that goes on, but
Me, I like them both.
yeah, well, I know. But people who have no idea. I was going somewhere with this, but now I forgot.
That's all right. It's okay.
Forgive me, my age.
You are,
I'm
yeah.
gonna
Well,
use that as an excuse.
mine too. So Jeffrey, what we started out with was people just sharing where their hearts and minds were right now on the brink of this election. Do you want to take a chance to just share where you are?
Oh, yeah, and I can weigh in on the last two things. So I remember years ago when I was a teenager, Fox used to have these programs where it was all doom and gloom, right? And the leading up to 2000, they were talking about the apocalypse. And everybody's worried about the apocalypse. And there was one person in all those shows that had a positive spin on it. He said that, think about it from this perspective. If you go back in time and look at a single-celled organism as it was evolving into a multi-celled organism, that coming change would have looked scary and awful and disastrous because it's something new. And because it's something new, we have no frame of reference for it. So we're wrought with fear about it. And he said that single-celled organism couldn't perceive a life after. And ever since I heard that, I thought that was a fantastic perspective to look at it. And so for me, I've been looking at this the past few years as we're going through this massive change. And what we see right now, it goes back to McCarthyism. The loss of civility goes back to then, because McCarthyism destroyed people talking about politics for fear that they would be considered a communist, be blacklisted, and have all kinds of awful things. So people stopped talking about their political beliefs, their religious beliefs, for fear of retribution of some kind. And in doing so, they lost how to learn, or they lost the ability to have those conversations civilly and understand that we might disagree, and that's okay that we disagree. And that disagreement is where understanding comes from. If you don't talk about the issues, how can you ever come to some kind of understanding and find a middle that you can both be satisfied with? And so civility has slowly been eroded over the past few decades. And it's been made worse by the GOP in the last 10 years or so, especially since Trump came into office. And so we've lost this ability to talk to each other and have those discussions about where we stand, what our political ideologies are, our political philosophies. And if we're not sharing that, we can't come to any kind of consensus about where we are and where we need to go. So ultimately, what's happening right now is this massive battle. And I've been talking to my friends about this for years, and that we have this massive battle of the past versus the future, what we were versus what we're becoming. And there are a lot of people who are afraid of what we're becoming because they have no frame of reference for it. And so they feel like they're going to lose out on something because they've been privileged for so long. They don't want to lose that sense of privilege. And so they're fearful of that, that they might be less than or become less than and have less voice. And so we're watching it play out as I forget what your name is. As Rose said, the Civil War is kind of happening right now, and it's very polite, so to speak. You know, as of right now, we're not aiming firearms at each other in mass. You know, we're not meeting.
Yeah.
We're not meeting on set battlefields with armies, but you know, we are, you know, battling with each other, and it's over the soul of who we are, who we are, and who we want to become.
I find a lot of hope in actually your that frame of analysis, Jeffrey. And I work with a bunch of facilitators, and we're trying to figure out what's happening right now and how we facilitate what's going on. But one of our number has presented on this idea concept of ages that we've gone through as a species, as a people, going from, you know, tribal societies to, you know, the great religions forming, and the Industrial Revolution and the Scientific Revolution, and what we're heading toward right now. I mean, every one of those ages builds on the one previous. It's still there. Everything part of each one of those earlier things is still with us, including all the tribal stuff and all the, you know, sacred stuff and everything. But the one we're heading to right now, in theory, is one where in human consciousness, we're actually capable of holding two opposing thoughts at the same time. That we can actually do that and not go crazy. I find that really hopeful, but it's way beyond what we're supposed to be talking about here. So I just had to throw it in. I kind of want to move to the specific framework that I built this concept around for this episode. But if a play were to be written tomorrow or 20 years from now about this time, what do you see as the elements of that play? I mean, what truth would it be testing or revealing? Any thoughts about that? I'm really curious. What is the thing we learn?
I think you'll see history repeating itself. I do. I don't. I think we've seen plays about this. Didn't we just do Indecent last summer? You know, like this is going to keep happening until we can actually come to terms as white people that we're kind of into ourselves, like really into ourselves.
So let's say we do get to a point beyond just repeating itself. I mean, that would be what I think the truth we'd be trying to capture of this moment were, if it were actually moving us there.
You know, when you first mentioned that, you know, in your letter to us, I thought, well, what kind of play would this be? And, you know, as a director, I think of styles of plays. So at first I thought, oh, this would have to be something expressionistic or surrealistic. But the more I thought about that, the more I thought, nah, that's kind of a cop-out. I mean, you know, both of those styles tend to be ways you can express yourself as a way of relieving your anxiety, not so much as convincing anybody else, you know, of how you feel. It's playing to the choir.
Yeah.
And then I thought, you know, I think the only thing that, you know, the one playwright that came to my mind when I think of this time is Ibsen. And I think of Ibsen, I think of his plays like, which I've read several times, and it's a compelling play. I would never go see it because it's so gripping, is like The Wild Duck.
Oh.
You know, where I mean, this seems to be a period of time where that expresses the way the malicious, the ignorant, the well-meaning but short-sighted all come together in a way that ends up damaging the innocent.
Hmm.
Which is what happens, of course, in Wild Duck when the young girl commits suicide at the end of the play, which is why I never can watch the play. It's like, I can't go there. But that's what it seems like to me, is that right now we're at a period of time where maybe to get to that moment that we say of recognition, that we start to grapple with what we are and what we have done to each other, won't happen without a tragedy.
I want to read that play now. I've never read The Wild Duck.
Oh,
thought
it
you were
is
gonna
so
say-
hard to read that play.
I thought you
The
were-
ending will just, the ending just makes me shiver, and then I go, I don't think I could ever watch this play, but it's so compelling to read because the characters in it, some are malicious and manipulative, some are well-meaning but short-sighted, and everybody forgets the little girl that's there.
Mm.
And all their battles seem to be about her without ever acknowledging that she's there.
Hmm. Powerful. That's nice.
I don't know that.
I thought
I
you
mean,
were
I-
going to say Ionesco. I did. I thought you were going to say rhinoceros.
No, because I think, again, that preaches to the converted. I mean, yeah, rhinoceros, that sense of, conformity, to the extent that, once people start becoming a rhinoceros, everybody wants to, becomes a rhinoceros, even though it's brutal and stupid and, and meaning. But to me, there's something very profoundly something very profound that's happening at this moment, and I think Rose is right. It's revealed for what we always were, and what Lee said is that this man revels in it, and he's allowed other people to revel in it. So the people who would think twice about opening their mouths and saying something that's stupid or saying something that vicious now think, hey, it's okay. It's my First Amendment right. And I go like, well, it may be your First Amendment right, but who the fuck, taught you good manners?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I mean, I guess that's what I feel.
Yeah, others of you, and you don't need to reference plays that have been written already, but just a new thing, a new play that might come about talking about this time in history. Any thoughts that Jeffrey or Lee or Rose might have about that?
Oh, I like farce, and I thought farce.
Oh.
You remember the little dictator, Charlie Chaplin?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought it was Springtime for Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought I'd like to have Randy Rainbow write it.
That would be awesome.
That
And
would
then
be good.
call it Trump with a big slash, or maybe in a tarot bang. And then in small print underneath it, what were we thinking?
Okay. Don't reveal your titles yet, because I'm going to ask you that at the end, but that's okay that you
And
did.
then, well, and it could be a musical like Cabaret, how they, how he, all the Hitler Jugend,
Right.
the whole thing, the guerrilla,
Right.
and for the Jews and something like that. I think laughing at something like this takes some of the poison out of it.
Yeah. I remember Christopher Isherwood said once that, if people had just laughed at Hitler, maybe it would have worked out better. If people just realized he's a cartoon, he's not, but
Right.
we gave him, we listened, and I say we, because we're part of the human race, right? I mean, we let that rise up, and that's what we've done in this country in the last.
Do you think that I was just having this image of Trump as having lanced this horrible boil and all the pus is running out? I mean, that's a horrible image, but I can. Do you think
It's
that?
right, though.
But what happens?
Make a farce out of that, Lee.
After that, it if you can heal it, then
Yeah. Yeah.
afterwards. I mean, then you can't. If the poison stays inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Rose or Jeffrey, a play, an idea of a play?
I was gonna say, I don't know. I could see it being something, because when you look at where we are as a nation, you know, we talk about Hitler often. Look at Germany right now. They were under rule of one of the worst leaders in history. I mean, the sheer atrocities committed because of that one person, we still talk about today. And Germany has found a way to move past it for the most part. You know, they have very strict things in place to make sure that that type of ideology is stamped out, but they as a people have moved past it or started healing from that. And America spent 400 plus years enslaving people. We never, or we're still,
We
Yeah.
never confronted it. You're right.
yes. And that's the thing, is that Germany confronted it. They had trials, you know, right after, and confronted the issue. This is wrong. This is where we fucked up. We can't ever allow this to happen again. Hundreds of thousands of young men and women died fighting our Civil War. As big as a confrontation as that was, we never sat down and actually confronted the heart of those issues. And so here we are, over 100 years later, and tensions are that high again, and a lot of those same issues are still there.
Right.
So whatever play that would come about, I think would focus on that in trying to frame a conversation about that confrontation, especially if things have gone south. No pun intended. But if, you know, somehow if things have gone south and we're still able to put on literature, or even if it's overseas when they look at it, I feel like that would be an area where they would have some kind of mock conversation or debate. And I could see it being maybe two people on stage, maybe a 3-person play, and the third person comes in toward the end to balance out the ideas. But you have that confront, or each person is taking one side of the issue and actually trying to have that confrontation and get at the root of what's happening.
Thank you. And I think, you know, as you were speaking, one episode that I would love to see come up in that kind of a presentation would be the whole thing of when enslaved people were emancipated, they weren't. I mean, there was a huge asterisk in there that basically allowed people to be put into prisons, and their rights were, you know, as absent as they had been when they were owned by people. Rose?
I again, and no offense meant to anybody. As you guys were talking about the organized thought of what play this would be, I'm thinking that we're all in the theater of the absurd, and there is no, the problem is we're all playing way different roles and way different. I mean, some of us are having, you know, doing Blazing Saddles. Some of us are in the middle of Young Frankenstein. Some of us are just really playing out the whole scene. And the Wiz, you made me smile when you brought up the Wiz, Leanore, when the wizard decides that, oh, today's color is green, and everybody, yeah, today's color is green, but oh no, it's blue. Oh yeah, blue. And you know, while yet others of us are in the middle of an opera that nobody understands, and the whole thing is, and the stage manager just gave up enough, and nobody's in charge. So
We all get
you know,
on and do our own play.
Yeah,
Exactly,
maybe
we-
the stage manager is the protagonist of the play. That might be.
yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, I think that has to. I mean, the fact is that none of us are speaking the same language. None of us are on. We're all completely off script, but on a different script. You know, we're not. With the director just says, "Fuck it, I'm done," and and we don't even know where the stage is at this point. So yeah,
I'm sold. That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah,
Sounds like a great show.
there is
like-
no-
We don't even know where the stage is.
yeah, and if the curtain call, we don't even know if there's a curtain left at this point.
I've had
So-
the stream many times. Connor, did I give you short shrift on that? Did you get a chance to talk about the idea of a play that you?
Rose used the word I would use as absurdist. You know, I see this kind of as a thing where there's like a group of people that are looking at their phone and they're like, "Oh, did you see that tragedy happened again?" And then you switch over to a whole other thing where people are dealing with the tragedy, and it's just like shame. And then the whole group is like, "No, seriously, we need help."
Yeah.
But we're just talking about like how sad it looks. I don't know.
So
And that would be the kind of play I would like to see, a play where you see those, I don't know, the dissonance between the people of this country, where it's like, man, it's so hard for us to see how hard it is for you. And that's how it's like all the time.
Yeah, where can I donate?
Yeah.
just send me the link and I'll send you some money and we'll be
or just
we'll
tell
move
me
on to
what
the next
tell me
meeting.
what it's okay to say and what's not okay to say.
Right.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah.
I thought of the film Koyaanisqatsi as you were talking, which I haven't thought about in a long time. I don't know if anybody knows that film, but it's a wonderful time out of joint kind of film. Who else something to throw in here before we go to the break here?
I was going to say, I could almost see, given Rose's description, maybe trying to use Brecht as a way to confront these issues, because that way you could put the audience inside the show and make it, you have the structured disorganization where that whole idea, where's the stage, where's the curtain, and especially people who are younger who didn't live through this time period, they could see or have a better idea of the chaos, because they never know where something's going to happen or what's going on or who's talking about what.
Right. I don't want to jump. I do want to jump in. What Jeffrey just said is key to something for me, because what we forget is that we are living current history. We are the history that our children will read about, and our children's children will read about, and they will look at this and say, "What the fuck were they doing?" And the fact is that we have to remember that we are creating history right now. Each one of us are in the thick of history, and the question is going to be, which side of history are you on?
Is there one thing I just want to add one thing too, and it's just it's kind of a hopeful thing. It's going to sound a little depressing at first, but it sounds like we talk about this country as if it's divided down the middle. It's more like divided. There's a majority, and then there's a bunch of little subgroups on the left. I heard Jon Stewart say something once where he said, the right is Faster Horses and Birthday Bash, which is like a bunch of country festivals. They're going to do one genre of music the whole time. And the left is Coachella. We got to appeal to a whole group of people. Now, one of the things that I thought was so frustrating was just how talking about the primary candidates this year for the Democrats, and how divided everyone was when, your certain candidate didn't get picked or whatever. Republicans don't have a hard time backing Trump after he's the choice, where Democrats have a hard time. They still say things like, he wasn't my first choice. Well, no shit, he wasn't your first choice, but like, he's your guy. So pick him. But what the hopeful part is, I'm hopeful because of the AOCs in the world, the Ilhan Omars. You know, I'm hopeful for people being mad at these specific things. You know, as annoying as people want to paint it, these are things that you're talking about. These are things you were thinking about. These are things that we all want, and that's what I got on that. I don't know.
Thank you. I'm gonna I have to call time because time's running short. And what I'd like you to do, the exit question again, as I told you earlier, is just come up with a title for the play that you would see that captures or attempts to capture this moment in time for future generations, or even just for us. And I think I'll go off screen for a moment while I just say a few words about community theater entity that I adore, which is Lansing Community College. And it's hard for me to tell you much about Lansing Community College's season coming up. I have trouble navigating their page because it's meant for students, not necessarily for people who are interested in theater. But if you go to LCC, their basic page, and find Arts and Humanities Department and Theater Program, hopefully in there somewhere you will find listings of what's coming up for them. And as far as donations, I hope you would consider somehow, maybe it's just making a call to them, finding out how to do it, but to contribute to their scholarship fund, because this place has, I believe, saved lives through its theater program, given opportunities to people to explore themselves and life and truth through theater. Many of them have gone on to do, great things in theater, and many of them have gone to do great things not in theater because of the skills they learned through the theater program, although concentration and collaboration and communication and all that stuff. So I would strongly encourage you to donate to their scholarship fund to help other people in Lansing who might not be able to afford to go to any college to do that. I also want to just share my own history with the institution. I came here in 1975, and at that time, I believe, I'm quite sure, it might have been, this was actually an increase in the tuition rate, but it was $11. $11 in 1975. And it was the beginning of Dart Auditorium had just been built, or just was being built, and they ran out of money, so they didn't have any, they couldn't create a backstage at all, just had the hallway and the upstairs best dressing rooms, which can be problematic when you're, if you're done with Act 1 and you happen to be in a play like Hair where you're nude and you have to get upstairs out of the way before the audience shows up in that back hallway. I got involved with LCC when it was in its sort of heyday of doing big shows, big musicals. It was a community theater. It wasn't there for the students really at that time. And all the people that you hear Lee and I talk about from back in the day were part of shows at LCC. That change kind of happened around the 80s. There was, I think Penny Owen had a lot to do with this actually, to redirect energy toward the educational mission of the school. And that's when we started to see really innovative and potent, powerful, I think, ideas about teaching theater come into play. And up to the present day, and I've been involved with sort of like 3 different generations of LCC students, but the most recent being the one that kind of came to fruition around 2015 or so. Connor's part of it. And they have the most excellent teachers at this institution. Mary has been one of them. She taught the directing class that I will always say is the best college course I ever took, including everything at Central Michigan and MSU. These are hardworking, hard-thinking young people, young adults now, who are going into the world with so much wonderful stuff because they went to LCC. And that's my pitch for LCC. And I love it. I'm glad it's here. I hope you will continue to support it, along with all the other wonderful theater outlets in our community. Okay, everybody come back on. All right, so did you come up with a title? If you didn't, that's okay too, but we'll start with you, Lee, because you gave yours actually earlier. Do you want to
I
give it
did.
again, or did you
just
change
go
it?
with the subtitle. What were we thinking?
Okay, sounds good. Anything you want to say about that? Then you haven't already said.
No, I am thinking more of now that I've got it in my mind, Trump is the, I don't know, catalyst, not a, yeah, I guess catalyst.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, that's
Yeah.
it.
Mine was Blue Moon. I thought because we had a blue moon this weekend, and I thought it's good to start it on. It's like a physical sort of detail thing to try to pan out from, and I thought that would be a good one. Plus, it's got the word blue in it, which implies sadness. It's got the moon in it, which is like mystical and mysterious and ancient. So I was saying, I'm not sure what the play would look like, but I was thinking that would be my title. Who wants to go next? Connor?
Connor.
Okay, got it. You ready?
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
I just watched that TV series last night.
Yeah,
Special.
that would be the play title, though. I think that's the the opening line of the play would be "Everything's fine," and the last line of the play, "We learned that day that everything was indeed not fine."
Okay. Very good. Very good. Who else?
I had a couple, but I just landed on one. Nobody does America better than me.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
Wonderful. Oh, that's great, Jeffrey. I don't even want to ask you more about it. It just it says it all right there. I'm going to be thinking about that tonight when I go to sleep. Rose or Mary?
I guess I would just, it's not very catchy, but I just, I guess going on with my Ibsen-esque theory here, I just say where we are.
Where we are. Nice. Very nice.
I'm gonna go with reboot.
What?
Reboot.
Reboot.
Reboot, nice, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Say more. Can you say one more?
Every thought in my head was about the day that we decided who we are, and we actually honestly said, okay, this is who we are, and whether that's we have acknowledged that we are a racist, a country full of hatred, and we don't care for continued progress, and we just want rich people to get richer, and and we want to lose every bit of that good old-fashioned caring about everybody else in the world, including ourselves, if that's the choice we make tomorrow, or the reboot to say, okay, we all have to pull this truck down the road. We all have to get in and pull and push and scrap and fight and make this place what we continually say we are in the first place. So tomorrow will be a reboot no matter where we go.
It's true. Yeah. Thank you all. This has been lovely. And I'm so grateful to every one of you. I think this is going to be really fun for people to watch as well. Not fun.
There might be some catharsis.
A good break from watching the returns coming tomorrow night.
What do you do for fun if this is what you
I don't know. It was a
I'm
mistake.
scared.
Thank you, Doak, though, and also it was so nice to talk to somebody.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
I think
really true.
dialogue is so good. And I think all of my shows so far have been proving of that. So thank you.
This
Let's
has
wave
been
to the camera. We're gonna
Full circle.
what's that? Yeah. Let's we will stay on the camera or stay on, folks. I'm gonna turn off the recording, and thank you for joining us.
Yay.
Wait, it's not stopped yet.